Hey guys, welcome to the RAMZPAUL show, the Iranian War edition. Uh, I think I think this is a huge historic event in America's history. I'm not one to exaggerate hyperbole. I'm not like an Alex Jones. The world's going to end whenever anything happens. But this is a happening. I think this is fundamentally going to change America for quite a while. So I've been following it constantly. I've been talking to people about it. So I love to get online and talk to you guys about it. I really do appreciate you being here. We can talk to each other and chat, and I'll give you some of my perspective of what's happening and what it means and what's that likely outcome. Because every day there is something new. And I want to thank everyone. I'm on Rumble. Let me make sure my Rumble's going well. Okay, good. And let me make sure my Twitter's going good. I'm also on Twitter, and let's see. Oh, good. StreamYards fixed that bug. So we are on Twitter good. And we'll be good to go. We're good to go. So thank you guys for that. All right. A couple of things. If you want to interact with me and help support the show, I do appreciate it. On YouTube, they have super chats. Powerchats are here. I appreciate that. If you're not on YouTube or you want to go away from YouTube, that's cool. And Rumble has something called Rants. And again, I do appreciate your support. All right. That's like the administrative stuff. We'll get into what's happening. What's happening tonight is Tel Aviv is getting pounded. It's just getting pounded by Iranian. Iranian. I was thinking of Uranus. Iranian missiles. Iranian missiles are pounding Israel right now. And let me just see. I had some of these images, and there's a lot of images being leaked out of Israel that are just showing complete devastation. Well, here's just something that was just put out by the New York Times. Let me show you this before I lose this, because things are breaking by the moment. War Monitor's pretty, they're a pro-American account. New York Times citing sources, growing pessimism within the Trump administration due to a lack of a clear exit strategy from the war with Iran. And I'm getting that sense that there's a lot of desperation now happening within the Trump administration in that they don't know how they can end this war. I mean, we can declare victory and walk away if we wanted to, but there's another party in this war, and it's called Iran. And we did a sneak attack on them, murdered their spiritual leader, the Khomeini. I'm not a Muslim. I don't want Muslims in my country or Europe, but this is their holy guy. We murdered him and his family. And then we murdered a bunch of schoolgirls, and Trump lied about it. We did hit them. I don't think it was intentional. I hope it wasn't intentional, but we did do it. And Trump was trying to lie about it. It's just a bad look. So we can leave the conflict, but Iran say, well, no, we got terms. We got demands ourselves. You're going to have to surrender, and here's our terms. And the terms are basically you got to get out of the Middle East. You can't have your bases here anymore. And Israel's got to get out of Gaza. And no U.S. president can hardly do that, especially for a lot of reasons. Number one, our politicians are so controlled by Israel that's almost unthinkable to do that. But number two, the reason we've been able to spend so much money and we don't have huge inflation is because of the petrodollar. And that was established, I think, in 1973 with Kissinger, with Saudi Arabia and OPEC. And what we said is, okay, here's the deal. You're going to have to, we want you to just sell oil in dollars, no other currency, because that helps us, the United States. So all the other countries, if they want oil, and everyone needs oil, they first got to convert their currency to dollars. So there's a demand for dollars. And so if we spend more than we take in for taxes, that's okay. The excess dollars get sent overseas. So it keeps our inflation down. And then we told Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf states that in exchange, we'll protect your backward monarchies. And you can go to Vegas, get prostitutes, whatever you do, live a lavish lifestyle, and you're going to get a lot of money because of your oil. But guess what? We'll protect you. We'll keep the more extreme Muslim elements, Islamic elements out. We'll protect you with our army, and we'll put a leash on Israel so they won't attack you. And so that was a pretty good arrangement. But now that arrangement, if we pull out of the Middle East, will be broken, because in Saudi Arabia and the other Arab countries would be like, well, what the fuck? Why should we just sell in dollars? You're not protecting us. And we're getting the shit kicked out of us, and you're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. Your fucking anti-missile defense is useless. And what anti-missile defense you have, you're not giving to us, you're sending to Israel. And so they're getting really pissed. And they're the way Arabs are, they don't have loyalty. They will flip flop over to Russia or China like that, if they think they could get better protection from those countries. So to pull out of the Middle East would, number one, in the Israel dream of the greater Israel. That's what Netanyahu's been thinking about for 40 years. Greater Israel, he thinks the Israel of the Bible. It should expand, from the Nile River to the Euphrates, which is take Lebanon, most of Iraq, part of Egypt. It's just really crazy. And there's a lot of prophecies that a lot of the Jewish, religious Jews want to come in. Their Messiah will come. And then you have our Christian Zionists that think this will bring about the end times. So that's one aspect. And then the other aspect is, we can't pull out because we got to protect the petrodollar. But that's what Iran's demanding now. And so the Trump administration, they feel like they're fucked because they don't know what to do. They do a lot of propaganda and a lot of lies, but that's not working. And it's somewhat reminiscent. I was only 5 years old. I turned 5 in 1968, so I don't remember this really. But in 1968, in January, they're in Vietnam. We were in Vietnam since about 63. We had special forces, but it really ramped up in 66. And we were there a couple of years, taking some casualties. People were starting to get upset. But the government, Johnson, would come out every night in the military and proclaim we had all these glorious victories, and they would give body counts of all the dead Vietnamese and how we're obliterating them. And some of it was true. I mean, the numbers were inflated, but Johnson kept saying, the light is at the end of the tunnel. We're about done. We almost have victory over these communists. And they're defeated. They're weak. They don't have any army hardly anymore. Sound familiar? That's what Trump has been saying concerning Iran. And then in 1968, in January, there was a major offensive by the Vietnamese, the North Vietnamese, called the Tet Offensive. And technically, we won the battle, meaning the Americans. We won all the engagements. But it was so shocking because there's multiple attacks across the whole country, including Vietnam, Saigon, which was supposed to be safe. It really shook the people to the core. It was like, well, wait a minute. You've been telling us this is all taken care of. We're winning. North Vietnam is defeated. And here they are doing a major offensive. What the hell? We're being lied to. And it was that event that the American public soured on Vietnam. Now, this is actually a little bit worse, because the public has soured on this war even before it started. I saw a graph of all the American wars where opinion polls were taken before the war starts. This is the least popular war in American history to start. Even Vietnam had more support than this war does. And this war is just going badly, so the support is even going to get worse. But we have a similar thing to the Johnson administration, where Pete Hegseth and Trump are saying, oh, we've obliterated their army, their air force, their missiles, everything. We've wiped them out. Victory is close at hand. This is going to be a short war. Remember Trump saying that? unconditional surrender. They're just smashed. This is what Trump has been saying. And then every night, Iran is escalating. Currently, they've hit 5 countries tonight, I saw. And this is the biggest wave ever to hit Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel and other countries. And the Iranians were saying this missile barrage was going to last for 3 hours. And the Iranians were saying we used up our older missiles to kind of drain the United States air interceptors. Now we're using our big missiles or heavy missiles, 1-ton missiles with like cluster ammunition. And from the reports that are coming out in Israel, these missiles are not being intercepted whatsoever. They're getting no warning because the Iranians knocked out at the very start of the war, they knocked out 5 of our very expensive THAAD radar systems, which cost from half $500 million, a billion, not a million, $500 million to $1 billion. We only have like, I don't know, 12 in the world, and they've already destroyed 5. And so we're having to relocate some from South Korea. So our military is pretty well blind to incoming missiles. And because the Iranians, supposedly these primitive people, were able to have their missile tech identify where these radars were and take them out. So Israel's getting no protection right now. The Gulf states are getting no protection. So during the day, Trump is trying to say all is well. This is a glorious war that we won, and we've totally obliterated, destroyed them. They don't have an army. They don't have a navy. They don't have any missiles. They don't have a leadership. And then every night, Iran is fucking shit up, worse every night. So there's a real disconnect there. And it's making Trump look as either he's delusional or he's a liar. It's always better to be straight with the American people than to lie. And right now, Trump is feeding us lots of lies. Sometimes he contradicts himself all the time. The war is about over, but we're just getting started too. He'll say that. So it's crazy. And for example, what happened with the missile attack on the Iranian school, hey, that sometimes happens in war. That's unfortunate. I would hope that we didn't intentionally target that school. I don't know what happened. Did we get the only reason it could have been intentional if the Israelis gave us fake intel, because I could see the Israelis targeting the school, but I don't think we would. I really don't. I'd hope we wouldn't target a school of little girls. So the question is, we did though. And what Trump should have said is, hey, we're investigating it. And if we did it, I'm so sorry. We're going to take steps not to make sure that doesn't happen. That's not what we're about. But instead, Trump just started a lie. So we didn't do it. The Iranians probably did it. They're just really inaccurate with their missiles. I'm like, really? No, they're pretty damn accurate. They took out your radar stations. They're hitting Iran. They're pretty damn accurate with their missiles. And all these missiles are GPS guided. They don't really miss unless you intercept them. This isn't like the old days of the Scud missiles like Saddam Hussein had. No, the Iranians, and this is going to piss off a lot of people, but I will say this. We in America, we're the most powerful military. Yes, we are. We have the biggest Navy. No one compares to us. China's getting close. Russia's a joke. They have like an old aircraft carrier. We have the most aircraft carriers. We have the biggest Air Force, and we're advanced in many ways. But in modern warfare, I know this is theoretical. I think we've lost it when it comes to drones and missiles. And right now, Iran, I would say, and I would definitely say China and Russia, they have superior missile technology than we have. They have hypersonic missiles, which Iran hasn't used yet. They're holding them back. We haven't figured out how to use a hypersonic missile. Now, Russia has, China's developed one. The United States were supposedly close. I was checking on this, how close we are. We were doing testing, but we had problems. But they're advanced. They're not like back ass when it comes to missile technology. And Trump even admitted that he didn't realize how many missiles they have. So they have a lot of missiles, and they're very good missiles. They're not primitive. And they've been stockpiling them. They probably have thousands of them hidden underground. See, that's the problem. They're not just putting them out there that we can easily destroy them. They understand, well, we've got to hide them underground, and they've been building these underground facilities. This is where they make the missiles. And then when it comes to drone technology, I would say they're superior in that. Yeah, we started the drone technology, but when the United States started the drone technology, we basically just reinvented a plane without a pilot, but a huge, expensive airplane with a lot of cool capabilities. But the Iranians, they went a different way. They made these little small, cheap drones where they could mass produce. And that has proven to be a lot more effective. In fact, with the war in Ukraine versus Russia, they immediately went to Iran to get help with drone technology. Russia went to Iran. So the Iranians aren't these primitive, backwards Arabs like Iraq was. Iraq was primitive. Persia or Iran is not backwards now. They have a lot of high tech. Russia went to them. And Russia, their design of the drones is based on the Iranian Shahid, I think it's called, model of a drone. So the Iranians are very sophisticated with drone technology, and they have a lot of drones. And so this idea that they're a pushover is just not true. And the proof is in the pudding. If what Trump was saying was true, we wouldn't have these devastating attacks on our bases every night, and on the Gulf states every night, and on Israel every night. So we just don't really have that. So our air defense, the Patriot system, I think is overrated, and mostly it's destroyed now. And it's been having problems in Ukraine. It is a system. I think it was better in older missile technology, but it's having troubles with the new missiles. Iran doesn't look like they have good anti-air defense, really. I mean, they have some. They've shot down a couple of our planes and drones, but they don't. The beating Tehran's getting, I don't think they have a great anti-air defense. I think Russia and China probably is the best anti-aircraft defense and anti-missile. So that's the war right now, and the technology, how it's changing things. Unfortunately, the United States, we are designed to fight a war in the 20th century with aircraft carriers, jets, man jets, all that type of jazz. But this is the 21st century. And as Russia and Ukraine learned the hard way, war is no longer so much about fighter jets and the navies or anything like that. It's about drones. It's about missiles. It's about air defense. Even tanks are becoming somewhat useless. So warfare has changed. In America, we're built, we're not up to date really with the modern warfare. We're starting to see that. So we're having a lot of problems of what do we do? How do we actually defeat Iran? I mean, we can bomb the hell out of them, but bombing, what's the goal of bombing exactly? When they have their missiles on the ground, we can't get to them. They have their factories underground. Yeah, we can blow up oil refineries and we can kill civilians. I assume their military is just not standing around in the open waiting to be bombed. They're probably dispersed. So it's very difficult just to bomb to achieve our objectives. But that leads to another point that pretty much everyone in Congress is saying, and it's becoming louder and louder, is what the hell are our objectives? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It started Rubio and Trump, I think they slipped. They admitted it was about Israel, but then they saw, okay, that's probably not a good spin, that we're fighting a war that could destroy the world for Israel. So we got to make up some other story. So they made up, it was about nuclear weapons. But that didn't really make a lot of sense because Trump told us last year that he's obliterated their program. And if you should say, well, I doubt that you have, they probably still have some enriched uranium. You would say, that's fake news, you commie, you liberal, you panicking, right? That was the line. But it turns out now they're trying to say, well, maybe they do. And then it was the ballistic missiles. And again, the missiles can't hit the United States. It can hit Israel. And there's all this propaganda. Iran was about to attack us, but according to the intelligence agency and the military, there's no evidence of that whatsoever. So and then it became to regime change because we got to free the Iranians, so the women don't have to wear the hijab, the head covering. But that's old. I mean, they don't have to wear the head covering anymore. In fact, I saw some videos that were taken in, I think, 2025 last year in Tehran in a mall. It looked very modern. There's women without the head covering. Looked like it could be in the United States or something. So there's a lot of propaganda. So it's like, what the hell really is the point of the war? The objectives aren't really clear. They change every day. Is it regime change? Sometimes not. Is it to get their nuclear weapons? Well, how do we get it? Well, maybe we have to have a special forces raid, but maybe not. Maybe they don't have nuclear weapons. How about their missiles? Wow, we destroyed all their missiles. Oh, really? Then how come they're increasing their missile attacks every night? That's not making sense. So they're caught in a bind, and I don't really think they know what to do. I think Trump wants an off ramp. I think his advisors are telling him that. I think Trump was sold some lies by Kushner and Lindsey Graham, Witkoff, and Netanyahu that the Iranian government was weak and the people wanted to rise up in a protest like in January, which kind of was a CIA Mossad thing, but they want to rise up against the government. So if we just do a decapitation strike, they won't be expecting it, so we can do it because we're in negotiations. And we told them we're going to meet with them next week, that we like some of their proposals. Let's talk some more. So the Iranians, they were fooled again, just like Charlie Brown keeps getting fooled by Lucy. She keeps pulling the football away. That's what the Americans do in negotiations. We did that in 2025, and we did it again this year. We conducted a dishonorable sneak attack without declaring war, and we assassinated their leadership. It's despicable, but that's what we did. No honor whatsoever. And then we thought, because of that, once their Khomeini was killed and his top leaders, the people would rise up and, I don't know, we get a Gaju running the Iran then, or maybe he would appoint Melania to run it. Who knows, as supreme leader. But that didn't happen. In fact, the people, they rallied around their government. And so what Trump thought would be a weekend exercise, bomb on Saturday, and by the time the markets open on Monday, he would have his glorious victory. That didn't happen. Then he said initially, well, maybe it'll take 4 days. And then it became a couple of weeks. Then it became 4 weeks. Then it became maybe till September. And now it's, we don't know. I think the Trump's official position is we pretty much won the war and it's over, but we're just getting started. If that doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't make sense to me either, but that's the position. So Trump would like to get out of this, but the problem is the Iranians, they have no interest. We're trying to negotiate with the Iranians. They're like, fuck you. You screwed us twice. Why would we want to negotiate with you? You're liars. We can't trust you. And so they're refusing negotiations for a ceasefire. So Trump, in desperation this week, just a couple days ago, I think yesterday, he called Putin. And the Russians were clear to say he called us, basically begging for Putin's help, that maybe Putin, because Putin has allies, or at least are close with Iran, can he talk sense into the Iranians? And Putin said, well, maybe. But, you need to release some sanctions on me. So that is the current strategy. Hopefully Putin, who was our great enemy, now he's crawling and begging to Putin that maybe Putin can convince the Iranians to stop their attacks. And so it's a big mess. It's a big mess right now because we don't know how to win this war on a military basis. We just don't have an idea. And we have the Straits of Hormuz, and this is a narrow strait of the Persian Gulf that the Gulf countries rely on. This is where like 30% of the oil gets shipped out of, and liquefied natural gas, and the Iranians have closed it down. And Trump's mad about that, but no tankers will go through. I think one attempted, but it was blown up. And, Trump is saying, you pussies, go through it. Don't be pussies. And they're like, yeah, no, we're not taking our tankers through filled with natural gas and oil when Iranian drones and missiles are attacking us. We're not going to do that. Fuck you. And by the way, we can't get insurance to do this. So Trump is trying to say, well, we'll give you insurance. Well, that's a matter for Congress. I don't think Trump can do that. That there's really been no takers. And then Trump had this idea, well, we'll have our Navy escort you so you don't have to worry. And our Navy's like, yeah, fuck off. We're not going through there. We're going to be sitting ducks. So the Navy has basically refused. And I'll show you these stories. So what do we do? Did we try to take over the Strait of Hormuz on the ground where they have all the missiles and all that? That's a ground invasion. It'd probably be bloody. So there's really no answer. There's no winnable way unless we try to invade Iran. But Iran has like a 1 million man army. Maybe we have superior air power, but typically you need a 3-to-1 advantage when you're invading because it's easier to defend. And Iran is a very mountainous country. So it'd be very difficult to take it over. And so we can, we'll get so how many men would we need, or women, or whatever they are, to invade Iran? Well, based on doctrine, you need 3 million. Maybe you could do less because we have air power, maybe, but I don't know. But we don't have that many men. It'd require a draft. And then where are we going to stage them? In the Iraq war, again, it was a different time. Iraq was more primitive. Iraq, they didn't have satellite data. Now the Iranians, through the Russians and the Chinese, they know all the time where our aircraft carriers are, where our troops are. There's no surprises anymore. It's like playing a board game. You actually see where all the pieces are. And that's the way modern warfare is. They can see this. So where are you going to stage these troops where they're not going to be attacked by Iranian missiles and drones? And again, Iran just can make tons of these. So where are you going to stage them? In the Iraq war, we could stage them in Saudi Arabia. And again, Iraq was pretty primitive. They couldn't do anything about it. So we could get all the troops there. And there was a whole coalition of like Britain, Turkey, France, all these countries together. And you could do your Desert Storm thing. But we have nowhere. Where the hell are we going to stage these troops? In Iraq? Well, Iraq is under attack now. The Shia elements have just, I think, attacked our embassy there, and they have drones. So it's a hostile country. And so there's nowhere else to really stage an invasion. I guess we could try an amphibious landing, but I don't think we have any amphibious landing ships anymore. So, I mean, we're talking years to prepare for something like that. And we don't have years because if we don't open the Strait of Hormuz, it's going to crash the world economy. Oil is so important. So they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't have an answer except to call crying to Putin, seeing if he can get us out of this fucking mess that Trump and Jared Kushner and all these neocons got us in. So it's a mess. It's a mess. It's a huge mess right now, and that's what it is. All right, I'll go over some specific stories now. That's kind of my opening monologue. I do that all without it written down or anything. I don't have a teleprompter. Here we go. I'm reading True Conspiracies by the Tuttle twins with my sons. It's hard to read some of these with them because it's so evil. Gulf of Tonkin. Yeah, our whole reason to get in Vietnam was based on a fake thing that the North Vietnamese attacked us in the Gulf of Tonkin. That never happened. But that was the excuse to get us into the war. So there's always some excuse the government tries to lie about to get us into war. In this war, it was, the Iranians are about to attack us. Patriot, $10. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me check my rants. I think, I got a rant from Randall Flagg. Thank you. Ramsey, you remember well the Iran hostage crisis of 79 and 1980. I do. That was when the Iranians had a revolution in 1979 and they overthrew the Shah of Iran. And the Shah of Iran was our puppet in the region that we installed. And then a bunch of Iranian students, they took a lot of people in our embassy hostage. And then this was so botched by Jimmy Carter, it cost him the re-election. This was a huge embarrassment for America coming off a few years from Vietnam. It did. And what happened, I remember this well. Uh, Carter authorized a special forces rescue mission into Iran to try to rescue the hostages. And the helicopters crashed, and a lot of our troops died. It was a huge embarrassment. It made America look extremely weak. It made Carter look extremely weak, and Americans were disgusted. And Ronald Reagan won the election. And then immediately, right after Ronald Reagan won the election, the hostages were freed, not because Ronald Reagan threatened them, but the Iranians were ready to end it. So I remember that very well. That's what happens. And that was a long time ago. That was what, 46 years ago or so. And a lot of things have changed since then. Iran has changed since then. But I do remember that. So that was the one legitimate time the Iranians did attack us, all those 40 some years ago. But it's interesting. Reagan didn't attack Iran, even when Hezbollah, who is an Iranian proxy, attacked us in Lebanon. There's a Marine barracks. I think a couple hundred Marines died. Reagan pulled out of Lebanon. He didn't attack Iran. So no American president was foolish enough to attack Iran until Trump. Way to go, Trump. Let's see here. Powerchats, thank you. Art the Clown. That was from the Terrifier movies. And boy, those movies are intense. They're almost too much for me. Gory horror movies. Many politicians need to be put on trial for treason. I agree. Our politicians are bought by Israel. It's embarrassing. Also, Trump has turned into Baghdad Bob. Yeah, Trump is just lying. I mean, again, why does he lie about? You shouldn't lie about things that are shown not to be true. That we have totally wiped out the Iranian missile capability when every night they do greater missile attacks. You shouldn't lie about the Tomahawk missile that hit the girls' school because it's coming out it did. There's no reason to lie about it. Just be honest. You get caught in your lies. But Trump is always a marketer, and he wants to try to spin things into existence. And so he says stupid things that aren't true. Like, you remember this earlier this week, I think it was, that, oh, Iran has surrendered to the Gulf states, a total victory by America. And Iran did not surrender to the Gulf states at all. In fact, they're bombing the Gulf states tonight. Iran just simply said, hey, and he said, oh, and Iran apologized. Well, what Iran said, and this was a speech to the Iranian people, was, hey, we're sorry we had to attack the Gulf states. We don't have any issue with them. The only reason we have an issue with them is because they are supporting the Americans. They are allowing American bases to be on their territory, which are used to attack us. If they evict the Americans, we don't have a problem with them, and their tankers can go through. That's what they said. But Trump spun that in to they had somehow surrendered to the Gulf states. See, again, another Trump lie that has been shown to be a lie, and you just lose credibility. I know governments always spin, but if you just flat out lie over and over, people, they just don't believe you anymore. I don't believe Trump. I don't believe the casualty numbers. I believe they're probably lying about that because this administration is a lot of liars. I don't know. I just remember Mark Levin said, this is the first Jewish administration. I'm like, yeah, it looks like it. Roberto, thank you. Hey, Rams, I know you're still behind Vance. I think Vance, I'm still hopeful for Vance, and I'll explain why after this question. I hear Nick Fuentes talking about Vance ties to Thiel and Palantir, and it worries me. This online surveillance system being put in place is real. I'm sure about that. Yeah, Vance has gone through a transformation. He used to be a neocon, and we're getting conflicting messages about the war. Trump himself said that of all his administration, Vance was not very enthusiastic about this war, but he decided to go along with it. Now, I'm not happy, and Vance has been very quiet. He hasn't been rah-rah in this war at all. I don't think he's happy about it. Vance, by the way, he's not one of these Christian Zionist heretics. He's Catholic. He doesn't believe we need to kill people to bring Jesus back. So I still like Vance. I just wish that Vance would come out in force against the war. And I've had people say, "Oh, he can't do that. You can't disobey your boss." I'm like, Trump is not Vance's boss. People don't understand that. It's kind of interesting. People think like Trump could fire Vance. Trump can't fire Vance. The vice president is in the Constitution. It's a separate role. It's independent of the president. The president has no control over the vice president. So JD Vance could come out and say, "I do not support this war. This was a mistake." And Trump would have a tantrum. Trump could cease to talk to him, not invite him to the meetings and all that, but Trump could not remove him. That's just constitutionally. He can't. So I wish Vance and someone like Tulsi Gabbard, she should probably resign, would have some courage to do the right thing. So we'll see what Vance does. I do say this. I think Vance is better than Trump. I don't think he's quite as controlled by Israel as Trump. I mean, who could be? Maybe Tom Cotton or Lindsey Graham. But I think he's younger. He's not getting senile. So I would prefer to have Vance in right now. I know a lot of people disagree with that, and that's fine. But I'm still hopeful Vance may be okay. But we will see. It hasn't been good that he has to come out forcibly and condemn the war here. Okay, here. Defund AIPAC. Yeah, I think anyone that got AIPAC money should be arrested. I really do. We shouldn't have foreign involvement. Well, AIPAC's not foreign. Yeah, they are. They're just playing a game with dual citizens. I'm not going to play that game with them. So AIPAC should not be allowed, or any country should not be allowed to buy our politicians the way they do. It's just it's outrageous. So hopefully that will change. So I agree with that. All right, let's go into some of the stories here. A couple of and I'm always kind of worried, like, okay, is this AI or is this real? But I've seen, and I look at the source of is it legit, and are other legitimate sources showing real footage. So there's been many footage that is showing this type of thing. This is from a Chinese source. So this is Tel Aviv tonight is getting hammered, and there's many videos showing this. I could show you a lot. So I think it's been reported Tel Aviv is getting really crushed by Iranian missiles. And a couple of things, there doesn't seem to be any air defense anymore. No Patriot missiles shooting down anything. I don't know if it's depleted or the Patriot missiles are destroyed or they're just not effective against the Iranian missiles. I don't know, but they're not effective. And the other problem is you need radars with these missiles in order to detect the missiles coming in. And when we initially, like the first war we had with Iran, and Iran really didn't fight very hard that first war. It was kind of half-assed because they wanted a peaceful settlement. So they didn't really hit hard. They threw a few old missiles at Israel, and they didn't really attack America until the very end. I think after we bombed their nuclear facilities, they sent some old missiles to a base that was abandoned. That was about it. But it wasn't, they didn't hit us in force, but now they're hitting us in force. And previously, like last year, we had all these very expensive radar systems. It's called THAAD, and they cost like $1 billion each. And we're able to detect missiles like 5,000 miles away when they're launched. And Israel, we're able to give Israel about 15 to 30 minutes notice. Hey, we've detected a missile's coming to you. and it should arrive, let's say, in 20 minutes. So that gives people time to get in shelters, and it also gives the Patriot systems time to, get ready to shoot down the missiles. These radars have been destroyed, so now they're almost getting no notice. They're getting like a minute's notice. So that's part of the problem with the air defense. And it is bad. All right, some other stories we'll just kind of go through, just getting up what's happening. And again, because this administration constantly lies, I think these numbers are higher. Just in disclosed TV is pretty reputable. The Pentagon confirms about 140 troops have been injured in Operation Epstein Fury, including 8 severely and 108 who have returned to duty. So I think there's been 8 killed, 8 are very critically injured, and they may die. And then there's others who, may have taken some shrapnel and they've returned. So that's the official casualty count. I think it is higher than that. I think the government's holding back on some, but we will see. The United States or the administration is having a report to Congress, and it's not going well. But one of the numbers that's really shocking is how expensive this war is. And in the first 2 days of the war, we shot 5.6 billion in munitions in the first 2 days. So we're really draining our ammunition. Our Tomahawk missiles are almost drained, and our Patriot missiles interceptors are almost gone. And we've lost a lot of equipment like radars. This is huge. We can't afford this as a nation. We're going bankrupt, but the military's, we're pissing this all away. The numbers are outstanding. So again, from just a financial point of view, I'm not sure how long we can sustain this war. All right, here. A couple other things. Breaking. South Korea media reports all the U.S. THAAD defense, that's a radar system, that's $1 billion. Again, we have like 14 in the world. 5 have been eliminated so far, has been shipped to the Middle East. They'll probably be destroyed too. But South Korea, they now don't have adequate missile defense. So if North Korea should invade now, which I don't think they would, but if North Korea should decide to invade, now is the time to do it because our troops are bogged down in the Middle East. And the same with China and Taiwan, this would be a time to attack. But South Korea now is pretty defenseless because we're cannibalizing what material we do have. Trump is acting extremely erratic. He's not acting as a stoic leader. In a time of crisis, you need someone like a Ronald Reagan. And I know I'm not the best fan, the number one fan of Ronald Reagan. He did some things that were bad, like amnesty, although Trump's worse. But he had a sense of gravitas. He had a sense of a control over himself and how he presented himself. He didn't act like a hysterical bitch every day. Trump acts hysterical and unhinged. And so this was earlier today. If Iran does anything that stops the flow of oil, I don't know why you capitalize oil, but whatever. Boomer posting here. Within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit harder by the United States, 20 times harder than they've been hit so far. Okay, a couple of things. It's not an if. Iran has shut down for the past 2 or 3 days. So I don't know what Trump's talking about. And again, Trump's in a different reality. This isn't reality. They have done it. And what does he mean hit 20 times harder? According to Trump, Iran has surrendered. They don't have any army or anything. So what is he going to hit? And why aren't we hitting 20 times harder now? Additionally, we will take out easily destroyable targets that will make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back as a nation again. Death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. And again, even if this is your goal, this isn't something you should say. Technically, this is a war crime. This is against the Geneva Convention. Technically, Donald Trump, if he loses this war, could be prosecuted. The idea, maybe our leaders in the past lied and they were devious, no doubt. But at least we pretended we wanted to help the people. We would be, hey, we want to free you, liberate you, give you liberal democracy. We want to see your nation do well. But now Donald Trump is threatening the people that no, you will never build your nation back again, and you'll have death, fire, and furies. It's like from Revelation or something, rain upon you. I don't know why he would think this is a good thing to tweet or put on Truth Social. It makes them look unhinged. It makes them look stupid because they've already blocked the Strait of Hormuz they have for 2 or 3 days now. So I don't know what he's talking about if. And this idea we're just going to start massacring people and destroy their country. I don't know what that is going to do. All right. Now we'll go to the other thing that Trump lied about, that we did not hit the girls' school. He lied about that, I think. And the Republican Senator John Kennedy was asked money by NBC about the bombing of the girls' primary school, what we would call elementary school in Iran, on the first day of Operation Epstein Fury, which resulted in the death of roughly 175 children, and which the evidence suggests was inadvertently carried out by the U.S. Air Force Navy. He said, and he has intelligence information, it was terrible. We made a mistakes. Other countries do that sort of thing intentionally, like Russia. No, Russia doesn't do that. There's been very few civilian casualties in Ukraine compared to what we're doing. Israel does this. Israel engages in killing. We see what has happened in Gaza. We would never do that intentionally. I hope that's true. I think that the Department of Defense or Department of War, whatever they call it now, is investigating it now. And I'm sorry. I'm just so sorry it happened. It was a mistake. So the senator, he's a Republican. He's seen the intel and said, yeah, it was our Tomahawk. And then Trump was trying to lie that, well, other countries have Tomahawks. Well, what's he saying? Is he saying Iran stole a Tomahawk and programmed it to bomb one of their schools? Doesn't make any sense. I guess Japan has Tomahawks in Australia. Or is Trump saying the Japanese Australians were behind it? It's just absurd. And that's the situation. All right. We got some news just recently before the show. And again, this is always breaking. I don't know if the Iranians have confirmed this, but it looks like the rumor is they're mining the Strait of Hormuz. I'm a little bit skeptical because they want to allow Russian and Chinese ships through, but
Iran.
Let's listen to CNN on this.
Iran has begun laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. This is according to two people familiar with the matter. It's another major complication as the world's top oil exporter warns there could be, quote, catastrophic consequences for oil markets if the conflict keeps disrupting ship and oil tanker traffic through the strait. He says beyond upending shipping and insurance, the ongoing disruption could snowball, threatening aviation, agriculture, and other industries. A short time ago, the White House repeated President Trump's promise to provide government-backed insurance as well as naval escorts to keep tankers moving. So far, those shipping companies are resisting traveling through the region while the fighting goes on.
Well, yeah, I would too. I mean, would you want to be a tanker full of oil when you're being attacked by a bomb? And so that was a report that went out that there was they're laying mines, and that I don't know if the Iranians would do that because again they want Russian and Chinese ships to go through, but that would be a problem if they do lay mines because that would make it even more difficult to reopen it. Early today, and this was deleted by I think it was ABC News or CBS, that we escorted an oil tanker across the Strait of Hormuz, an American oil tanker, And later we admitted, no, that was a lie. And the Iranian parliament speaker says an oil tanker crossed the Strait of Hormuz escorted by U.S. naval ships, Navy ships, maybe on PlayStation. I think that's kind of a funny response. But it turns out the Iranians were right. This never happened. The Navy's not going through the strait, and we'll look at that. An oil tanker didn't go through. So the Americans were lying about it. But another thing this shows is what Trump claims the government of Iran is wiped out. But the Iranian parliament, yeah, they do have a parliament. They're not just a dictatorship. They have a president, they have a parliament, then they have the religious leader. But he's able to talk to the press. So their government still exists. Okay. And the Strait of Hormuz is what could actually end the war because it's going to create a lot of problems. And let me just show you one of the problems. This is a UN is talking about breaking. UN warns Strait of Hormuz disruption could cause food shortages. Yeah, in a couple of ways. The primary way right off the bat is the Gulf countries like Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar. They're desert. They can't grow food. They are dependent on food coming in through the Strait of Hormuz. And if that's closed, they're not going to be getting food. So that's a big problem for these countries. But it also will affect all the world because, again, petroleum is used for fertilizer, and fertilizer is required to grow food. So this is becoming an epic fuck up if we can't get this Strait of Hormuz open. And we don't know how to open it. Trump doesn't know how to open it because the Iranians control it. And Trump had the idea, well, we'll have our Navy escort ships, but there's already the Navy said they are unwilling to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Since the start of the war against Iran, the U.S. Navy has almost daily rejected requests from the shipping industry for military escorts through the Strait of Hormuz, stating the risk of attacks is very high. This is Reuters. So, okay, this is legitimate news source. The Navy saying, fuck no, we're not going through. That's too goddamn dangerous. They have drones, they have missiles. They will attack our ship. It's a narrow strait. No, we're not doing that. So our naval ships won't go through, but Trump is yelling at the tankers, you fucking pussies. Why don't you go through the straits? Yeah. Why don't you go through it, Trump? Why don't you get in an oil tanker? Maybe put your son on the oil tanker and you send him through it. So that's a problem. That is a problem. And Trump, you could tell Trump knows this. And again, this is a Trump that said the war is pretty much wrapped up and the Iranians surrendered to the Gulf states. And everything's been destroyed, all their missiles, their Navy, Air Force, their military, and their government, all destroyed, right? That's according to Trump. But now he is spazzing out on True Social about these mines. If Iran has put out any mines in the Hormuz Strait and we have no reports of them doing so, we want them removed immediately. Well, it's not up to you, Trump. They're at war with us. If for any reason mines were placed and they are not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran will be at a level never seen before. Well, was he talking about nuking the country? What's he talking about? Because he's already said the whole country's destroyed. So we'll get your story straight. If, on the other hand, they remove what might have been placed, it will be a giant step in the right direction. Well, it sounds like he's trying to negotiate with Iran. But he told Iran earlier in a spazzy, schizoid, early morning True Social post, unconditional surrender. In an unconditional surrender, you don't have conditions. You just make them surrender. So Trump is worried about that. Now, Trump's saying he hasn't heard that they've mined it. It's just come from a CNN report. And I'm kind of doubting the Iranians have because they don't need to lay mines. They've just closed it with their drones and missiles right now. I don't know why they want to lay mines. And I mean, they could lay mines and they don't need ships to do them. They can lay mines with their missiles. They have the technology to do that. But they still want as Iran has said, the Strait of Hormuz is not closed for everyone. China and Russia are still allowed to bring their ships in. So I don't. If they mine the strait, then it would block it for China and Russia too. So I don't think they'll do that. I think CNN got bad information. But that is anyway. It was enough to cause Trump to spurg out about it. All right, let's see here. Then we have from Disclosed TV. Just in, Trump administration reportedly asked Israel not to carry out further strikes on Iranian energy facilities, particularly oil infrastructure. And supposedly Trump was pissed at Netanyahu because you remember the other night, Israel did their usual Israeli things and they just blew up all those oil refineries right next to Tehran, created an environmental catastrophe, but they don't give a fuck. But I don't think Trump gives a fuck about the Iranian people, but he does give a fuck about what this means. Because when Israel did this, the Iranians say, oh, you want to play that way? You want to play that way where we're attacking oil facilities? Okay, we'll play that game. And they started to attack Saudi oil facilities, Israeli oil facilities, Qatar. And that's not good for the oil price. And if the oil price goes up over 100 and stays there for a while, Trump is fucked because that will kill the economy. So far, the market has been pretty stable. I think it's in the mid 80s or close to 90 because, Trump is saying, oh, we're going to open up. The war's ending. And so they're kind of betting on that the war will end or Trump will walk away from this. And either way, I think the market is looking at, I heard a market guy say, okay, how they're thinking about this is two things could happen. Either Trump will do as he say and take the Strait of Hormuz and be able to open it, or Trump will taco, meaning Trump always chickens out and declare victory and leave. The Iranians will win and they'll open the Strait of Hormuz because, they won. But I don't know. There's another possibility that's looking likely is that Iran is going to stay in this for the long haul until the United States meets their demands that we get out of the Middle East. So once the markets start to think that could be a possibility, we're going to have a lot of problems. But for now, Trump doesn't want oil facilities to be bombed because that would be bad. All right. Trump talked to our at least administration. I don't know if Trump did. Talked to people in Congress or the Senate about what's happening, and they all were coming out saying this is a colossal fuck up. So here it is. Let's listen. Chris Murphy.
I just came from a 2-hour closed-door classified briefing on the war. It just confirmed to me it's totally incoherent. We are not going to be able to achieve any of our stated objectives. But I mention it because it's another closed-door briefing. We have still not yet heard a full explanation as to why this is necessary. We still have had no hearings in front of Congress that the public can see. And I think that's pretty simple, because if the president did what the Constitution says, come to Congress to get authorization for this war, he wouldn't get it. Because the American people would demand that their member of Congress, their senator, whether they be a Republican or Democrat, vote no, because this is a disaster of epic proportions.
Maybe it is a disaster of epic. This Operation Epstein Fury is a disaster. But a lot of our politicians, he'll get Ted Cruz, he'll get my Senator Tom Cotton, because Tom Cotton is owned by Israel. A lot of these politicians are owned by Israel, and they don't give a fuck what the people in their districts say. They care about Israel.
It's already getting Americans killed. It's driving up prices here at home. Harder line leadership, more antithetical to U.S. interests, are strengthening inside Iran. And there's really no way that we're going to be able to destroy their nuclear program because most of it is buried underground unless we mount a ground invasion, which would be even more disastrous.
So it looks like in this classified briefing, Trump administration has admitted that Iran still has enriched uranium. So Trump lied last June about that.
And more unpopular. This has just been a debacle, a 10-day debacle. And we're going to use whatever leverage we have in the Senate to try to prompt those hearings, to try to prompt that vote, and to get this administration to start paying attention to the Constitution.
That'd be nice. But again, there's a lot of pressures to keep this up. We'll get another senator came out. There's a lot of senators are saying that the briefing went poorly. Administration to the Senate. I guess this was just to the Senate.
I emerged from this briefing as dissatisfied and angry, frankly, as I have from any past briefing in my 15 years in the Senate. I am left with more questions than answers, especially about the cost of the war. My questions have been unanswered, and I will demand answers because the American people deserve to know. And I guess I am most concerned about the threat to American lives of potentially deploying our sons and daughters on the ground in Iran.
So this ground invasion, they've heard from multiple sources that Trump is legitimately thinking about a ground invasion. And again, it would take months to just logistically, I don't know how you would do this. And to me, the military seems pretty incompetent at this point. They're not looking very good. And I don't, they have to do a draft. There's just no political will for this. But the Trump administration knows they can't win this war by just bombing. They can't. I mean, we didn't win the war in Vietnam by bombing. We didn't win the war over Germany by bombing. It requires boots on the ground. And this would be, there's just no political will for this.
We seem to be on a path toward deploying American troops on the ground in Iran to accomplish any of the potential objectives here. And there is also, as disturbingly as anything else, the specter of active Russian aid to Iran, putting in danger American lives.
Well, why wouldn't they? We are supplying Ukraine with intel and weapons. And reportedly, we believe Russia is providing Iran with intel, satellite data, although China probably is too. In fact, China's made a lot of stuff public. They've been on the internet just showing satellite photos with coordinates on the internet. It's not exactly secret what China's doing. So, like I said, in the new age that we are now with satellites, our troops aren't hidden. It's not like Russia knows where our aircraft carriers are anytime. So does China. And they relay that information to Iran. And they know where the radars are. They know where troops are. They know it all. That's just a modern warfare. And why shouldn't Russia do that? We've been doing it against them. And that happened in Vietnam. When the war first started, Vietnam, North Vietnam, the Viet Cong, they didn't really get any support from Russia or China. But the longer it went on, Russia and China both thought they could get leverage over the United States by supplying North Vietnam. And they did. One of the reasons Nixon had to go to China to establish relations with China was try to get them to stop funding North Vietnam. And one of the reasons we had detente with Russia because we wanted to stop the flow of arms. So in a similar situation, the longer this drags out, the more advantage it goes to Iran, and the more likely Russia and China will be interested in getting involved, probably not directly, but initially with intel information, and then eventually they may provide military assistance too.
Literally, Russia seems to be aiding our enemy actively and intensively with intelligence and perhaps with other means. And China also may be assisting Iran. So the American people deserve to know much more than this administration has told them about the cost of the war, the danger to our sons and daughters in uniform, and the potential for further escalation and widening of this war, a war of choice.
So escalation, this could become a world war because you have Iran, then you have Russia and China in an alliance, and you have the United States. I don't know who we have on our side really. Uh, everyone on our side besides us is pretty weak. What, Britain? I don't know.
Made by this president, not chosen by the American people, with potentially huge consequences to American lives.
So he wasn't very happy. That was Senator Blumenthal with what is happening there. So he wasn't happening. And let's see here. There was one other. This was kind of funny. This was interesting. This was Chris Murphy talking about the guy I showed beforehand. Here he comes out and says this. This is amazing. And then I'll look at the super chats and stuff. We'll look at that here, but here we go.
What is the reason, if the nuclear program isn't the reason, as poor Ted Cruz, I never thought I'd put those three words together, is over there talking about nukes? And we know that the intelligence did not suggest that an attack was imminent from Iran. What is left? Why are we at war with Iran?
So based on this hearing, we said, no, this wasn't about nukes. And it wasn't the intelligence. There was no indication that Iran was going to attack the United States. I mean, it's stupid that they want to do that. So she's asking, what is the reason?
Great question. Yeah, great question. I mean, the simplest explanation, might be the one that they gave 24 hours in, that they've kind of tried to backtrack since then, which is that Israel made us do it.
What? Did you hear that, guy? Let's listen to this again.
They've tried to backtrack since then, which is that Israel made us do it.
Israel made us do it.
That Bibi decided on this timeline. Netanyahu decided he wanted to attack, and he convinced Trump to join him by scaring Trump into believing that U.S. assets in the region would be at risk. And so,
yeah, that is what both not only Rubio said, but Trump said has said too. And again, they try to walk it back. And again, this administration is lying so much. So what Rubio said, and we had it, I covered this, it's on video, so did Trump. They were like, okay, we were in negotiations, and that psychopath, they didn't say psychopath, but Netanyahu told him, well, fuck this, we're going to attack anyway. And we were like, oh shit, well, if you're going to attack, I guess we got to attack. I mean, what can we do? You can say fucking no. That's what you can do. You can say, listen here, bitch, we are funding your fucking country. We have for the past God knows how many years. No, you're not going to attack. If you attack, it's on you. We're cutting off all our military assistance to you. Fuck you. You can attack. That's what a good president would have done. But our politicians are on their knees to Israel, and Trump wouldn't stand up to Israel. This is what Chris Murphy is saying.
Trump was better off just joining Netanyahu. I hope that isn't the full explanation, but you're right. As we are now hearing that the nuclear program is not part of their targeting campaign, as we're now more confident that even harder line leadership is taking hold.
Yeah, the new leader, by the way, I haven't confirmed this, but there's reports that new Khomeini, the son. So we killed the dad, and then the son was left alive, but we killed his dad, we killed his wife, we killed his son, and we killed his daughter. So I don't know if this guy's going to really love America. I'm just guessing probably not. The new supreme leader is probably not going to be a fan of America and Israel. So anyway, there's been rumors that he said, yeah, we're going to make a nuclear weapon now. We see it's necessary. His dad was always, no, we can't build a nuclear weapon for religious reasons. It's not the Islamic way. But so no, I prevent it. But he's dead now. So good job, America. The guy that was opposed to nuclear weapons, we assassinated, and his son now wants to get them. And that seems to be what Murphy's saying here.
As the Strait of Hormuz is still being shut down, even as we get their Navy, what's left as the explanation? It might just be that Israel forced our hand. And how weak does that make the United States look? How weak are we if our allies can force us into wars of choice that are bad for U.S. national security interests?
Yeah, it's not forgivable, and I will not forgive Trump or his administration for this. Not forgivable. It is horrible. That is the situation. All right, I see I got another power chat. Fearless Fred, thank you. $15, thank you. Interesting comparison to World War One. Winston Churchill had to resign because of the 1915 campaign. The Brits, Aussies, and New Zealanders were trying to get through the minefields of the Dardanelles Strait, and it was a disaster. Gallipoli campaign. Sorry about that. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of comparisons. History doesn't always repeat, but it rhymes, where it's very similar things happen. They always think wars are going to be real quick. In World War One, they thought it'd be a quick war, over by Christmas. Started in August, but by Christmas it'll be over. They all thought that. It didn't. And yeah, that was a disaster. So good point. That was a good lot of things and similarities there. All right, let's just see here. I think I got one. I think I got another rant here. I see. Get there. Rant. Row House. Rams. Tim Paul has turned on Trump. This over Epstein release. Your view of the issue. All right. I have to admit, I don't really listen to Tim Pool much. I just know, I assume he's bald because he always wears that beanie cap.
I ain't cutting Trump any slack. Now that we know that they've covered up the co-conspirator documents, there's a document saying that they were investigating co-conspirators Epstein. There's photos and videos of minors and children. Dan Bongino was like, look, a lot of these things were hearsay and, fake tips that were uncorroborated. All of that is true, but there's still no excuse for them not exposing these deep, dark, corrupt pedos. Like, I can understand Bill Gates didn't do anything criminal. If it is true that he got an STD from Russian hookers and gave it to his wife on accident, that's not illegal. He got divorced. I can understand why it's embarrassing. And I can respect someone saying, please don't release that email. It's not material to anybody. It's just internal drama that's gross and embarrassing.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff in there, like that's already being brought up, that I would say is shocking to the conscience that Trump called it a hoax.
Yeah, it is. And that's why a lot of people are calling this Operation Epstein Fury, because that seems to, I don't know what's on there, but that won't go away. Why Trump tried to cover this up is weird. And I don't think he's implicated. If he would have been implicated, the Biden regime would have exposed it. I don't know what's up, but it's not going away. So this is something that's hanging over the entire war. And it's kind of funny. The Iranians are becoming good trolls. And they said they're willing to stop the war and open up the Strait of Hormuz if Trump releases all the Epstein files. I thought that was kind of funny. So, yeah, that's been an issue there. All right, let me just kind of scroll through here, see if I have super chats. It's great to have you guys here. $20. Likelihood this will end Israel. Then what? Thank you, Dan Davis, 8300. Well, Israel's already said that if they're going down, they're taking America and Europe down too, especially Europe. They have what they call Project Samson or something, the Samson option. You can look it up. And it's basically they're blackmailing the United States and Europe that you better never allow us to be defeated, because before we're defeated, we're going to set off nukes in your cities. So that's their way to try to stop that. So I don't think the likelihood is very great that Israel would be I don't think it's going to be ended because of this war. And again, if it was, they would just go ahead and nuke everyone to make it go. Matt W. Moore, 2090, is Newsom guaranteed to win over Vance if the elections were held tomorrow? If they were held tomorrow, yeah, he would easily win. what do you think will happen after midterms? Will Trump be impeached? First of all, the election isn't tomorrow for the president, that we still have 3 more years of the Trump presidency, supposedly. A lot of things can happen in 3 years. So who knows? Maybe things can turn around. I'm predicting now that I don't think Trump is going to make it through 3 years. He's either going to be forced to resign, which will be hard because Nixon had a sense of honor, and because of Watergate and the scandal, due to the sense of shame, he resigned for the good of the country. Trump has no sense of shame. He's shameless. He really is. So I don't think he would resign. And that leaves health or impeachment or the 25th Amendment. And Trump is old. He turns 80 this year, and he's not looking that good. He seems to be losing some of his mental abilities. He's acting irrationally. I don't know what will happen, but if what do you think will happen if the midterms? The House of Representatives, which will be Democrat, will go for an impeachment, and the Senate may remove him. Depends if it's controlled. Even if it's controlled by the Republicans, they still may remove him. But before it gets to that position, if Trump has no way out of this war, eventually the senators, some Republican senators, will go to him in private and say, the gig's up. You need to step down, allow Vance to take over. So I'm predicting before we get to 2028, we'll have President Vance, just because Trump's not going to last. He's either going to be impeached, or he's going to resign, or he will die of just health issues. So I could be wrong, but it's not looking good for him right now. K-Max McDonald, Rams, at this point, is the air completely out of the balloon? Big time. Trump was a reaction against Bush due to war and amnesty for illegals. Now Trump advocates war and amnesty for legals. Yeah, talk about the betrayal we're seeing. And thank you for bringing that up, K-Max. Let me just see here. This is well, I want to say shocking, but Trump has decided to betray us on everything at this point. White House tells House Republicans to stop talking about mass deportations. So Trump has totally gave up on his key position. Probably the number one key position was to get rid of the illegal aliens. The Trump White House has caved on that, totally caved. They're not going to get rid of illegals unless you're a murderer, which in my opinion, they shouldn't be deported. They should be executed. But only if you're a murderer, they'll deport you from the country. So Trump has gave up the key position. One of the reasons I voted for him was on immigration. He gave that up. So that's all over. He caved. He was weak, and he caved on that. And then the second big position was, let's not get involved with foreign wars. Trump said, I'm not going to start new foreign wars. I'm not going to get involved with Iran or the Middle East. And he lied about that. So Trump at this point has totally betrayed his base and his promises. And at this point, if you support Trump, it's a cult, because you're supporting the cult of the man, and no matter what Trump advocates. So let's say if Trump now advocates child sex changes on children, as long as you have parental permission, and that he's advocating that. So I guess he could advocate abortion through 9th month and infanticide, and some of these diehards would still support him. But he's totally abandoned everything. It's just I can't stand Trump. He's betrayed us. And as I said in an earlier broadcast this week, it's one thing you can hate your enemy, and I understand that, and I do. But at least your enemy, you know where they stand. It's worse when someone claims they're on your side and they're Trump. So many people they lost their livelihoods. They went to prison. Some people did. They were physically attacked for Trump. It was risky to be a Trump supporter, but they were brave and they did that for Trump. And Trump has basically said, yeah, fuck you. I am not going to support all my positions. Immigration, deportations. No, I'm not doing that anymore. Neocon foreign policy. Let's don't get involved in foreign wars. Yeah, fuck you. We're all about Israel now. And how about fighting against child sex changes? Yeah, no, we're not. I'm okay with child sex changes. I don't know what else to say. He's totally abandoned all his positions he had. And it's unforgivable. I will never forgive Trump. I will never support Trump. I don't care what he does. Even going forward, if he tries to try to smooth things out, I will not forgive him for what has happened so far. Totally inexcusable. And but it's really depressing what has happened here. So that is the stuff. Maybe look at some more stuff. Oh, okay. And we're doing this, because of our Jewish friends and Christian Zionists. And how do they thank us? Let's see how Israel is thanking us for fighting their wars. Israel to criminalize Christian prayers at the Wailing Wall. The Israeli Knesset passed a preliminary vote. So the preliminary vote has already passed, 56-47, on a bill that would hand the ultra-Orthodox chief rabbi total authority over the Western Wall and will criminalize any worship it deems desecration with up to 7 years in prison. And this is, if you pray to Jesus at the wall, they call that idolatry, because again, the Jewish religion, they hate Jesus and they want to make it illegal. So, and I guarantee you the Christian Zionists will support this. They're not Christians. So this should show you Christian Zionists are not Christians. So why are we, even from a religious point of view, if you're a Christian, why do you support a country that has rejected Jesus Christ as a Messiah, that hates Jesus Christ as a Messiah, that makes it illegal to preach the gospel in Israel, that now wants to put you in prison if you pray to Jesus at the Wailing Wall? What the fuck are you doing? What is that? It doesn't make any sense. CCU, what would be a realistic Iranian victory look like? All Iran has to do to win, they have kind of an easier victory condition, is because they don't have to conquer Washington, D.C., or sink a carrier, which they won't do. It's hard to sink a carrier because carriers move. I mean, it really is. That's not going to happen. All they have to do is survive, right? So if we walk away from this war, Iran has won. And they've won bigly, as Trump would say, for a couple of reasons. Because they will have shown that they have stood up to the United States, and the United States backed down. They will have gained huge prestige in the Middle East. The United States will lost a lot of prestige in the Middle East. Iran then will, the new leader said they're going to work on nuclear weapons. They will start to work on nuclear weapons because they can never trust Israel. If they had nuclear weapons now, Israel wouldn't dare to attack them, because Iranian missiles, as you see, can easily hit Tel Aviv. They would nuke Tel Aviv. So there's securities to get a nuclear weapon. And they're going to develop a nuclear weapon, and they'll build up their armies and build up their infrastructure. And there will be resurgence in Iran, national pride. So while they did have splits, ironically, there were splits in the political system in Iran, but we acted in a stupid fashion that brought the Iranian people together. So Iran just has to exist and wait until we walk away, and time's on their side. And they know this. They know this. They know that eventually America can't afford this anymore. We're running out of missiles. We're running out of interceptors. Congress is pissed off. The American people are pissed off. So they don't really have to hardly do anything. And they got a huge stockpile of very sophisticated missiles underground, which they say, and they're showing it to be true. They're showing Trump's a liar. And they have a lot of drones, again, underground, and they have a lot of industrial production. Iran is a huge country of 90-some million people. It's huge. It's like twice or three times the size of Iraq or Ukraine. It's a big country. And so that would be Iranian victory as the United States walking away. Now, if Trump is able to walk away, and he's going to have to try to kiss Iranian ass and hope they agree to it. But if he is able to walk away, of course, Trump will say it was a glorious victory, and maybe he'll give himself a Medal of Honor. But he'll claim that, oh, we totally wiped out their Navy, their Army, their government. They will not be a threat for 100 years. He'll probably say something stupid like that. But everyone will know the truth, and the Iranians will celebrate, and they will rebuild. And the Iranians also know, because a lot of people are saying, well, won't Trump go back, let's say next year, and attack Iran? Like, now, Trump's used up his political capital. I would say America's used up our political capital to attack Iran. No one, after this war, it's going to be it's going to be like a death sentence to your political career if you advocate attacking Iran. It'd be like after Vietnam. Right after Vietnam, Americans did not have an appetite to get into another war somewhere. It'll be like that. Americans will be sick of these wars, and there'll be no will to get into another war with Iran. So all Iran has to do is hang on and hold out. That's all they have to do. And the United States will crumble economically, and that will happen. KMax, $10. Thank you, KMax. Very generous. Is Trump's huge deficit on foreign policy his cabinet? He has zero experts, just yes men and sycophants. Why can't he turn for expert advice or reality? Very good point, KMax. He is surrounded by a bunch of yes men. He's surrounded by people that have no qualifications, like Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner is the son-in-law. His whole qualification is he married his daughter. That's his qualification. And Jared Kushner is not a neutral party. He's friends with Bibi Netanyahu. Bibi stayed at his house. I mean, so this is where we are now. And then Steve Witkoff, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he's a real estate developer. And why are these guys doing negotiations for the United States when they're not even vetted by Congress? What the fuck's going on? So you're right. And Trump doesn't want to hear any conflicting news. Supposedly before this stupid ass war, the generals told him, we can't guarantee victory. You don't understand. We're low on munitions because we pissed it all away in Ukraine. Trump didn't want to hear that. And he got mad. He demoted one of the generals for speaking the truth. I think Trump, ever since he got shot, he's been surrounded by these weirdo Christian Zionists that says God has a special plan for him to save the world. So now Trump has this Messiah complex that he's going to take over the world. And Venezuela, then he's now Iran. That he's already talking about taking over, fighting Cuba. So I do think that is a problem with Trump right now, is he's not grounded. I think he should be removed. I don't think he's acting rationally. He's like a mad king, King Lear or something like that. And we have an issue with him. He's saying stuff that's not rational on Truth Social. We're going to rain death, fire, and destruction on Iran, the Iranian people. It's really crazy what is happening. So let me just go through. I want to make sure I got all the super chats. But hopefully he will. I don't know. Because Trump has such a huge ego, he can't hardly will he be able to back out? I'm not really quite sure on that. I'm just scrolling to make sure I have all the because it's just me. I don't have like a staff. I'm not like the quartering that has a huge staff. It's just me. All right, let me look through my rants. Just make sure, because I don't want to miss any. Yeah, I think I got all of them. And as always, if I should have missed a super chat or a rant or anything like that, just send me an email at RAMZPAUL@gmail.com and I will get to it the next day. And these streams, I thank you so much for being here. They're good for me therapeutically, being able to talk to you guys about these issues. And I do appreciate that. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I usually do my streams anyway, but we will definitely get in talk more Iran. There's a few other stuff to talk about too. But it's pretty crazy stuff that's happening. So guys, thank you. God bless you. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.